And we're pleased to welcome from Cairo, Ulf Laessing, head of the Sahel Programme at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, based normally inside of Mali. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
Welcome.
First off, with the events of the last 48 hours, a lot to unpack. Let's begin with those Russian mercenaries. As we saw in that report, does this shed light on what the Africa Corps, aka the Wagner Group, is about, what their role is inside of Mali?
Yeah, I mean it's a disaster for Russia. Russia, promised to fix security after the French left, the French army, and the conflict has gone much worse. Due to their brutality and also their inability to understand the country. It increasingly looks like 2012, when Tuareg rebels and jihadists took over the north until the French army intervened, and now we see these Russians pulling back from Kidal and apparently from other places as well. So it's a complete defeat, and Russia will have a hard time selling its Africa Corps services to other African nations.
Yeah, what conclusions are they drawing in nearby Burkina Faso and Niger, where juntas of there too kicked out the French?
Yeah, I mean, in Niger and Burkina Faso, they're in a much smaller role. They mainly do training and protection. There are just a few hundreds there, so they will probably continue. And Burkina Faso's president always said they don't want to fight, for them. They want to do it themselves. So their role is limited. I mean, Russia has been trying to, find other clients for the Africa Corps. There was recently, news about Madagascar. But otherwise, if you see these pictures, I mean, I wouldn't be contracting them.
And these mercenaries having to make their way out via Libya. What happens to Kidal next?
Yeah, Kidal is again out of government control. It's basically run now back by the old Tuareg rebels and jihadists. And it's a huge, symbolic defeat for Mali. For Mali, that was always very important, and to recapture the city in 2023. It had not been able to control it since the French intervened, and that's a massive defeat. When they took Kidal, the Malian army with the Russian mercenaries in 23, there were huge celebrations in Bamako and gave a huge lift to popularity. So this is that these pictures don't look good for the government.
The city overrun by Tuareg rebels aligned with jihadists. There are jihadists of various stripes inside of Mali. It's kind of confusing sometimes to make it through all these different acronyms. What is the rebellion about?
Yeah, it really is confusing. Here you have two players, mainly the jihadists, who basically want something like a caliphate in much of West Africa, and then the Tuareg rebels, who have been since Mali's independence in 1960 trying to establish some sort of autonomy or their own state called Azawad in the north. So, but they're very different, but there are overlaps. You have many Tuaregs also, among the jihadists, and their joint business interests in smuggling, human trafficking, even drug smuggling. But basically, they're different, and they now have a joint enemy. That's why I decided to act together.
The head of the junta, General Assimi Goïta, has not been seen in public since the weekend when his defense minister was killed in a car bombing on the outskirts of Bamako. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I guess he wants to consolidate power. His defense minister is gone, was the main contact for the Russians. So they're trying to, to claim or stabilize the situation, at least in Bamako. And then there probably will be reshuffles. I mean, they need a new defense minister. And so he's trying for now to keep a low profile, as far as I understand.
And do you see this as a coordinated attack? The fact that Sadio Camara, the defense minister, was targeted just as Kidal was falling?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Camara, he was the point person for Russia who brought in the Russian mercenaries in the first place. And the Russians are the main enemy for the Tuareg rebels, but also the jihadists, not the Malian army. The Russians are much more capable, also have better equipment, drones, whatever vehicles. So that it was a very coordinated attack. They both sides, agreed on the timing and basically split up work. You take that city, you attack that city, we do this and that. So that was extremely well executed, and nobody was aware of it. I mean, I was also on a flight back to Bamako and couldn't go there, but nobody really saw it coming. It was well executed and planned. You have to give them that.
Ulf Laessing, two other precincts we should talk about before we go. First off, the neighboring African countries, those coup belt countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, quitting the regional body ECOWAS. How should ECOWAS play it?
Yeah, ECOWAS, I mean, they don't have much leverage there. I mean, I hope they, countries such as Senegal or Cote d'Ivoire or Togo, I mean, stay in contact and work together on securing their borders, because they are the next target. No? The same jihadist GNIM, they're already in Benin, heading towards the, Gulf of Guinea. So they're already, the jihadists are very active in northern western Nigeria. So I hope there's a bit of cross-border, coordination, at least sharing of intelligence, so this threat can be somehow, contained.
And one final question: what about Mali's civilian opposition at this point in time? How do they play it?
Yeah, I mean, it's many are not happy with the government, but on the other hand, they know if they bring down this government now with protests, the next one is one that will be Islamists, will be, cooperating with GNM, and people don't want that. Despite, not being happy with things that are going with the government, they don't want GNM to rule, bring Islamic Sharia to Bamako, which is still a very lively city with musical clubs and, musical festivals. People don't want that. And that gives also a bit, helps the government to survive for now.
Ulf Laessing, head of the Sahel Programme at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Thanks for being with us from Cairo.
Welcome.
Stay with us. There's much more to come. More news, plus the day's business and sports.